Here we are going to talk about the geospatial data models and also data formats. So in terms of the geospatial data model and data formats, actually there are a lot of data formats that you guys should be familiar with. For example, like the first one I list over here, the ESRI, the S3 shapefile, or you can say the SHP file. And then the GeoJSON is something that you guys should be familiar with as well, because you guys should already deal with it in one of the labs. And also, as we mentioned earlier, OGC, Open Geospatial Consortium, as one of the main, you can say, open standard definition organization in the geospatial field. They define a lot of open standards for the geospatial data model and also the data formats, including the keyhole markup language, the GML, the geography markup language, and observation and measurement, and also, for example, like simple feature access for SQL. The reason I put it over here is because it defines the topological relationships between two geometries, and the SVG, the scalable vector graphics from the W3C, and GeoRSS is also one of the geospatial data formats. And there are many other you can say formats and also data models, and that has been used by some you can say communities. For example, like the GeoPDF or you can say RDF, GeoJSON, JSON LD, JSON Big Data. So these are some examples of the geospatial data models and also the data formats. As you can imagine, in order to achieve the information information portability for the interoperability, then the data should be formatted or should be modeled in the same way, or in a commonly understand or commonly agreed way, so that two different you can say person or two different systems they can understand and they can correctly parse the information from those data. And then in this you can say in this video we are going to focus on one of the standard, which is the GeoJSON. So let's talk about the GeoJSON standard. So the GeoJSON standard, usually a standard will have a specification document. So you can take a look at the specification document, and different organizations they write their specification differently. Some of them they just put their rules for that standard on one certain website, or some of them they will write you can say a document to explain the requirements and rules of that standard. And in terms of the GeoJSON, the specification is online, so you can link to the official website of the GeoJSON over here, and then you will see the spec in this you can say URL. So the rule, what exactly is GeoJSON? So GeoJSON is a JSON-based format for encoding different types of geographic data. And to be specific, so basically GeoJSON, it can help you to have a JSON-based format for any features. So for any features, and those features could contain geometry information. So the possible the geometry types that could be possibly you can say described by the GeoJSON includes the points, line string, polygon, multi-point, multi-line string, multi-polygon, and also the geometry collection. And the geometry collection actually can contain all these other types of geometry types. So to be more specific, let's take a look at some example. Basically, the GeoJSON object, a GeoJSON object, it could it may represent a geometry, or it may represent a feature, or it may represent a collection of features. So the different differences between features and geometries are that in features in the GeoJSON contains not only a geometry object, it also contains some additional properties. It also contains some additional properties. For example, you can say I have a geometry that is the polygon of the NCU, the polygon of the NCU. So that is the geometry. But however, to make it a feature, then you can attach some what we call the attributes in the GIS domain. So we need to attach some additional attributes or properties to that geometry. Then it becomes a feature. All right, then it becomes a feature. So otherwise it's just a polygon. Otherwise it's just a polygon geometry. So by having those additional properties, then it becomes a meaningful feature. It becomes a meaningful feature. So a feature collection, a feature collection is a list of features. Later on, we will see some example. So here, let's take a look at some examples so that you can like understand GeoJSON more easily. So first of all, you can say the lowest level to the GeoJSON, they are the geometry. The lowest level to the GeoJSON in the GeoJSON is the geometry. So for example, if you are saying, okay, here we have a GeoJSON point, then it will be this. It will be kind of like this, like JSON object. And inside this JSON object, we only have two, you can say, key value pairs. The first key is the type of the geometry, and the second one is the coordinate of that geometry. So the type could be the types that I mentioned earlier. It could be point, line string, polygon, multi-point, multi-line string, multi-polygon, and so on and so forth. So basically that is the type is for explaining the type of geometry. And the coordinates, they are the coordinates to describe the actual geometry. And if it's a point, then you will just have the x and y coordinates over here. And if it's a line string, then you will have a series of points. And if it's a polygon, then you also have a series of points. But however, the first point and the last point, they will be the same, and then it will be enclosed as one, you can say, a complete polygon. So that's the case for the lowest level of the GeoJSON, so which is the geometry. So one of the higher level to the geometry, that is the feature, or that is the feature. So as you can see here, we have one JSON object over here, and the type of this object, the information in this object is a feature, or it's a feature. So which means that this GeoJSON represents one feature, and this feature contains a geometry over here, which is a point, and this feature contains some property. So the properties are in the list, are in the GeoJSON, in the JSON object format. So it could be like multiple key value pairs, and for example, like the line string over here, then the properties will have the property 0 correspond to the value 0, and property 1 could correspond to 0.0, and then so basically you can have multiple information, any types of information that you want to put in the properties key value pairs. And you could also have another label of the JSON object to explain more information. Okay, and so basically that means you can say that kind of like the higher level or the second level of the GeoJSON, they are the features, right? They are the features. And then the highest you can say level in the GeoJSON is the type is described as the feature collection, or feature collection. So in this label, beside the feature collection, beside the type feature collection, and the other key value pairs, they are the features. Right? They are features, and these features correspond to an array of features. Right? To an array of features, and inside this array, then each of the JSON objects represent one feature. So as you can see, one feature, two and three features. So basically, you can treat the GeoJSON as these three types of these three labels. The lowest label, that is the geometry, and the one of the higher label, which is the feature label, and feature contains one geometry and also multiple properties. And then the highest label, that is the feature collection, that contains the multiple features by using an array of features to represent that. So basically, that is how to understand GeoJSON.